Words-Daycare by Robert P. Fitton. These hands threw touchdown passes at Brown. I'm just an old man. My name is Morris B. Draper, and I'm a human being. Morris held the side of the armchair, and Clarisse helped him stand. Now I'm being herded out to pasture. My brain might be a little old, so what? You're looking at the face of a lover, Clarisse, a man who is a top business manager, the son of Albert and Mary Draper. Morris B. Draper, anachronism. Dad, you're 81 years old. Oh, I'm 81 years old, all right. Passed out of the 70s, that's one strike. Lose your wife, that's 2 strikes. Have a bladder problem and it's time to hit the showers. Burden alert, burden alert. Look, Clarisse, I don't want to go to the nursing home. What I really want to do is go to the bathroom. You're not well? She asked, moving the chrome walker over toward him. I'd like to say I'm well. That is, if you like playing cat and mouse with constipation and diarrhea. Shall I call Dr. Levine? Another prescription, another pill. I need a program guide just for my medication times. Or maybe I just need a laxative. They say that calcium is good for old bones. Clarisse opened the bathroom door. Old bones? You're as old as you feel, Dad. Then I must be 750. What about daycare? They have places you can go for the day and then return here at night. Clarisse, daycare is for babies. The senior bus whined toward the ocean flats where Morris had once played as a child. The marsh grasses and reeds looked the same, but someone had built a white pyramid tapered against the blue sky. When the hell did they put up that building? My sister Evelyn and I used to play with the neighborhood kids out here. The blue-haired lady next to him giggled. When was that? Last spring, Morris? Evelyn died 3 years ago. Oh well, my daughter brings me up here all the time, but I never seen that building. The bus hummed past more marshes and wetlands. A rabbit scampered across the road, disappearing into the tall grass to the right. Morris knew that Clarisse was only trying to help him, but he had his doubts about being babysat all day. In 8 hours, he'd be home. A few minutes later, the bus driver signaled, and they veered left, up a narrow, faded asphalt lane. Below the towering pyramid, the bus squeezed under a long white canopy and abruptly stopped. Why doesn't he just use air brakes? Oh, Morris, you're so witty, said Mrs. Faxton. Yeah, I'm witty with whiplash. The man in a green baseball cap and jumpsuit strutted through the tinted bronze sliding doors. His white hair matched the building facade. Who the hell is that? I think it's Esperance, said Mrs. Cranston behind him. You know, the gentleman that runs daycare? Yeah, well, he looks like an astronaut. You know, when they come back from space. Esperance rapped on the side window and Morris struggled to turn. He spoke with an accent. Your trip to daycare is long overdue, Mr. Draper. That beats the bedpan in the nursing home. Esperance smiled perfectly. You will not need a bedpan where you are going. Tension and anxiety are things of the past now that you are with us at daycare. Morris leaned to Mrs. Faxton. Sounds like they're going to shoot us at sunrise and put us out of our misery. By noon we'll be at the glue factory. Morris rolled his eyes when they wheeled him into a complex examining room. All the blinking computers and readout screens and monitors confused him. Esperance stood between a team of medical people in blue operating garb and a row of green vinyl tables. Is everyone ready? Now what the hell you doing? Asked Morris. What is all this? Esperance turned. I'm going to transform your lives. Oh, boy, he's going to get me a man, said Mrs. Cranston. You know, I get enough of this at Dr. Levine's office, and then he sends me to the clinic, said Morris. My technicians will help you at each station. Mrs. Faxton held her wrist and blinked her spacey blue eyes. Oh, Morris, if they're just running tests, they'll probably spot any potential problems. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. One of the men in the blue surgical suits put his arm under Morris's shoulder. "Let me help you on the table, Mr. Draper." Morris said nothing, but his eyes followed the monitor scans and the computer lights along the wall. Getting up on the table was a chore, but a sudden peacefulness migrated through his tired body when he laid back on the soft vinyl. He stared at a wide screen on the ceiling, and proliferating warmth massaged his weary bones. Then he looked at Mrs. Faxon, also horizontal on the adjacent table. "This is unbelievable." "Very good," said the technician who had helped him up. Across a wide screen, a red outlined image of his body became visible with green and blue detailed depictions of every organ in his body. Each body organ was listed on a side menu and designated with bits of information. "Hey, I can see my blood moving through my veins, although I never knew I was a blue blood." "That's just a computer's enhancement," said the technician. Esperance's voice came over the speakers within the screen. "I want you all to know there are certain things that occur here at daycare, things that must remain hidden to the outside world. The sensation you will feel shortly will be a simple thought suppression wave." Morris rolled his head toward Mrs. Cranston. "So much for my life as a Casanova." "What was that, Morris?" "Oh, nothing. You can't suppress what's already been suppressed." As he spoke, a numbness swept over him. It was as if he had hyperventilated again and tried to stand. For a moment he thought he might black out, but the feeling actually was enjoyable. "Well, isn't this nifty?" Esperance's image now hovered on the screen above him. "There, that wasn't difficult, was it? Now, with the procedure completed and all your genetic material mapped, as they say, you ain't seen nothing yet." Morris looked into the technician's brown eyes. "The last time I heard that, Dr. Levine's nurse prepared me for an enema." The technician smiled and helped Morris sit up. He required Morris to stay on the table for at least a minute, then lifted him into the wheelchair. "Now where we going?" Esperance stood before the group again. "I believe Mr. Draper has asked what's next. We are bringing you wherever you want to go. The choice is yours." Clarisse stood on the front porch when Morris moved out of the van without assistance. The pain in his legs and back had vanished on the vinyl table, but he still did not have the complete mobility of his younger years. As he and Clarisse converged, he had difficulty remembering anything after he was wheeled off the table. "Dad, where's your walker?" "Walker, walker, who needs a walker?" Clarisse's green eyes opened wide and she studied him standing on the cement. "Dr. Levine said..." "Forget Levine. I feel fine." "I haven't seen you move like that since Mom..." "Well, I'm no marathon runner, but I feel good." Clarisse took his arm, waved at the daycare bus driver, and they started up the porch. Morris quickly climbed the steps. "I guess your first day was good." "Good? I feel great. I never felt better." "What did you do?" She opened the aluminum storm door and Morris strutted by her and into the foyer. "I'll never tell." She spoke from behind as he moved into the kitchen. "Nothing funny happened down there, did it, Dad?" "Oh, what do you mean, hanky-panky?" "Yeah, that's exactly what I mean," said Clarisse. "At my age? Come on, Clarisse. The only thing that comes up in my body is the last meal I ate." "Did they give you a drug or..." "No, of course not. I just had a good time. Maybe it's the answer to old age, Clarisse. Instead of sitting around and talking about everything you did in your life, maybe you should just keep living it. There's too many people, myself included, who are fond of talking about the past, like some record, over and over. I say live it." Clarisse took his medication bottles from the windowsill. As she moved toward the refrigerator, Morris tried to sift the preceding few hours through his mind, but he could remember nothing except feeling very good. She poured the orange juice into a small flowered breakfast glass and handed it to him. "Are you sure you're all right?" "I never felt better." Morris lay in bed and looked over his bifocals as Clarisse poked her head in the doorway. "Dad, it's 11:30. When's the last time you stayed up this late?" "Hell, I don't know." She crossed the room in her gray bathrobe and stared at the book. "What are you reading?" "I'm reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William S. Shirer. I thought I'd like to reread it." "That book is over 1,000 pages." "Actually, it's over 1,200. I suppose I should get some rest before the bus picks me up at 7. Clarisse nodded and sat on the edge of the bed. "I think that would be the prudent course." "I'm so happy you signed me up at daycare. Can't believe the change. I'm just baffled." Morris grasped her hand on the blanket. "Remember, Clarisse, never question serendipity. You might lose it." At first, Clarisse had reservations about taking time off from work. Seeing her father move on the daycare bus without assistance further confirmed his odd behavior. Dr. Levine had lightly recommended an operation. She trusted his judgment, but now wondered if an operation was necessary at all. She decided to see the daycare facility and, with trepidation, drove her compact down to the flats near the ocean. The huge white triangular building stuck out of the marsh reeds, and the salt air seeped into her car. She pulled into an empty gravel lot and shut off the car. With her pocketbook in hand, she shuffled under a long canopy toward the bronze-framed doors at the building's base. The doors opened automatically, and she walked through a granite-tiled foyer. Other doors opened inside, and she gazed up 10 floors from the lobby. "Hello!" A man with a green baseball cap and matching one-piece suit moved swiftly down a glossy brown tiled corridor. "Miss Draper? How do you know who I am?" "You bear a striking resemblance to your father. I am Mr. Esperance." "Nice to meet you." "Morris is such a nice man and enjoying his time here at daycare." "Yes, he is," said Clarisse. "And you want to know why?" "Yes, my father comes bounding off your bus. Doesn't use his walker. He's energized. He's reading long books near midnight. I don't understand." Esperance nodded and tightened his smooth lips. "It is the policy of daycare to have the family approval as well as physician recommendation. Of course, if you disapprove of what we're doing here, you will have to complete our checkout procedure." "Whatever. Come with me, please." He moved with her down a corridor with luminescent white walls. A fuzzy blue-green area peered some distance away. "You see, I do not believe that people should just grow old. Growing old is an attitude, Miss Draper. Like being inside on an inclement day. You can still enjoy yourself." "Maybe," she said. "I am not one to argue against the body's degeneration, but the mind is limitless. The wonder of our mind's attainment is an unestimated quality." They reached an encroaching aqua light with white squares extending like storage lockers in a spacious corridor ahead. "What is that?" "That is the mind's attainment." "I don't understand," said Clarisse. She moved closer to the first white tube square and leaned forward. A three-dimensional image moved briskly through tinted glass. "What do? Have some kind of audio-visual thing here?" Esperance, his hand balanced on both knees, watched the image intently. "Oh no, this is the real thing." "Excuse me?" Esperance looked up and raised his white brows. "I am quite particular about satisfying client needs, within the bounds of propriety and good taste, of course. I take them where they want to go. Your father is down here. Who knows about this?" Esperance stopped and faced her. "I think you know the answer to that, Miss Draper." He motioned to his left. "This is your father's area." Clarisse tensed and furrowed her brow. When she leaned toward the glass, she saw her father as a younger man. A crowd surrounded the green football turf, and a nimble young man cocked his arm. The football sailed into the hands of another player who was quickly tackled. "My God!" "Morris was a good quarterback." "This is ludicrous," she said, placing her fingertips on the glass. Her father removed his chin strap and ran to the sidelines to talk to his coach. "Where is he? I mean now." "What you see is what you get." "But he's an old man." "Not when he's in there. He can be whatever he wants to be. Go wherever he wants. It is his choice." Clarisse turned and leaned against the warm tinted glass. She closed her eyes and brought her hands to her mouth. No, this is not normal. He might get hurt. She turned and saw her father back at the line, calling out a cadence of signals. Morris is fine. Clarisse watched as her father leaped over the line and into the end zone, scoring a touchdown. I want him back. Miss Draper, think of what you might be denying him. No, this is too dangerous. I won't put my father at risk. Put an end to this, Mr. Esperance. Esperance exhaled through his nose and pursed his lips. His eyes moistened as he nodded. Whatever you say, Miss Draper. Getting a call from the hospital was a common occurrence over the past 2 years. Clarisse stood clustered within an elevator full of visitors, gabbing nurses, and a solitary white-haired doctor. Her father had suffered too much. Death would not be feared, but welcomed. The doors slid open, and she cantered down the green-polished tiles. A nurse left her father's end room and crossed to the nurse's station. Clarisse always feared what she would see when she rounded the corner. With each footstep, she wondered whether she had done the right thing. The nursing home's restrictions had hampered her father's outlook. Maybe she should have let him participate in daycare. It was odd, she thought, as she approached the varnished door, how daycare was clouded in her mind. She hated mental blocks, but she had disjointed memories of the place. She paused at the entrance and inhaled the tainted hospital air. The nurse at the plastic intravenous bag turned with a sorrowful smile. I'm glad you're here, Clarisse. Is he dead? No? Morris Draper's rounded stomach moved quickly with each chance for air as he sucked in short, gurgling breaths. His glassy blue eyes were half sealed at the lids as he stared aimlessly to the smooth ceiling. For 83 years, Morris Draper's heart had contracted and pushed vital blood through his veins. The strain on his heart must have been extraordinary right now. My father has lived a long life. She reached across the sheets and held his smooth hand. The warmth would soon leave his body. I think he wanted to relive a lot of things he might have missed. She studied his chest as the breaths became staggered. His face remained fixed and locked out of the ongoing struggle within his body. Such a fine line now existed between her father's life and his death. Nurses popped in and out of the room during the next few hours. One of the doctors came in and took his pulse. This could go on for some time, said one of the nurses. I need a break, maybe a cup of coffee. Please call me if I will. Clarisse rubbed her eyes as she entered the corridor. She passed the nurse's station and moved toward the elevator and debated whether to spend the night. The green doors rumbled open, and the white-haired doctor she had seen earlier smiled and passed her in the corridor. She turned as he walked along. The doors closed. She had seen him before. What the hell's going on here? Asked Morris Draper, standing next to his dying body in the darkened hospital room. I must be dead. I must be dead. Esperance's fluffy white hair blazed bright as he moved around the doorway. Good evening, Mr. Draper. You. Me. You know, I told Clarisse I should have continued with daycare. She didn't understand, and frankly, I don't know what the hell happened. You blocked the memories of the place. What are you doing here? And who are you, really? Who I am is not important. He shook Morris's hand. Am I dead? You are. I think I'm going to have a heart attack. Mr. Draper, you're dead. You can't have a heart attack. Morris moved over to his motionless form in the bed. Why do we have to suffer so much when we get old? The transition is paramount. What? He stared at his own marble eyes and twisted strands of white hair against the pillowcase. It's like anything else, perspective. Suffering brings out what is to come into the proper perspective, whether you're dying young or on a rough journey at the end. Whatever you say. He looked back at Esperance. Clarisse will be sad. I don't want her to be sad. I assure you the perspective of sadness directs the mind where it needs to go. Morris nodded and stepped back from his body. Where am I going? I mean, which way? Up or down? Esperance smiled. Neither in the traditional sense. Spirit exists in a roller coaster of possibilities. Death of the physical body is just one of those possibilities. He extended his hand. Come on, let's get out of here. Morris looked at himself again. Au revoir, Morris. Wasn't all that bad. They moved across the fluorescent lit room. His troubles did not seem to matter anymore. Esperance walked with him into a blaze of pure white light beyond the doorway. Morris had the odd sensation of having his body spread like surface fog across a clear lake at sunrise. He comprehended more than he thought as his consciousness thinned and swirled. Darkness, mixed with security and nourishment and a new hope, were squeezed and jolted through a warm fluid. Air surged into his lungs, and his eyes snapped open to a world of bright spheres and linear shapes. Pain mixed with the joy of a new perspective. Albert leaned against the deacon's bench at the end of the hall. He opened his eyes as Evelyn ran from the second-floor bedroom. Father! Father! Albert stood and straightened his vest and worried about his wife. Evelyn? It's a boy! It's a boy! Dr. Samuelson smiled as he popped his head out the bedroom door. Will you come down here, Albert? Your wife wants you to see your son. Albert took Evelyn's hands and they raced forward. Mary was propped up on the oak bed's rounded pillows as the midwife wiped the baby's head clean with a white cloth. Mary's eyes hung heavy. Albert. Are you all right, Mary? I'm fine, and so is your new son. Albert studied his pudgy face and touched his fingertips to the seamless skin. He smiled slowly and fought the tears. Hello, Morris. Welcome to this world.